Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharpe. We are here talking about who will replace Aaron Rodgers after his injury last night on the fourth play of the game. Rodgers goes out. The fear was realized today, confirmed. Torn Achilles, he's out for the season. So will the Jets stick with Zach Wilson, or who will they call? Before we get into the video, I have heard some absolutely horrendous takes on this situation today. The names that people are throwing out there is a who's of losers and has-beens. I have heard Matt Ryan. I have heard Phillip Rivers. I have heard David Blau. I have heard Tyler Huntley. I have heard Marcus Mariota. I've heard Mitchell Trubisky. I've heard Nick Foles. I've heard Carson Wentz. I've heard Jameis Winston. I've heard Andy Dalton. Guys, listen. Phillip Rivers hasn't played organized football since January 2020. It might have even been January 2019, but I think it was 2020. One of those two. Phillip Rivers, you can't just call the guy who's busy repopulating the earth. You can't call him and expect him to take over as quarterback for the New York Jets in week 2. Okay? Matt Ryan, how'd that work out last year? He can't throw. He can't move. It's over. It's blowing my mind what the conversation is today. Not to mention saying, oh, we lost Aaron Rodgers, back-to-back MVP a few years ago, Hall of Fame quarterback. Let's just replace him with Marcus Mariota. That'll fix things. Let's go get Huntley. Let's go get Andy Dalton. Let's go get guys who can't even win the starting job at their own team. Let's go get backups, in some cases, like David Blau, third-string quarterbacks. Why stop there? Why don't we go to the Arena League and see if there's a quarterback there? Why don't we go to the Canadian Football League and see if there's a quarterback there? Hell, why don't we just let Stephen A. Smith do it? It's ridiculous. I think there's one obvious answer to this. I think the most feasible and best case scenario is Kyler Murray. I don't think Kyler Murray is any great shakes, but they're in a desperate situation, and Kyler Murray has shown that he can play at a high level for an extended period of time in the NFL. What was it, 2 years ago? They were 10-1. People were saying he's the greatest player ever. I think we all realize what Kyler is now, but Kyler plus this defense, plus a running game, plus a fresh start, he might be able to do it. And if he can't do it, fine. You got to replace Rodgers anyways. Take a shot. And Arizona wants to offload him. And if you don't think they do, they do. I've heard a lot of people in the comments saying, no, Arizona likes Kyler Murray. They're fine with him. They're not tanking. They don't like Kyler Murray. They are tanking. They're not going to play Kyler Murray. VSiN's Michael Lombardi has already laid this out there, so I'll just repeat what he says. If Kyler Murray plays for the Cardinals and gets hurt on the field, the Cardinals owe him $90 million. Hey guys, spoiler alert, the Cardinals are not going to play Kyler Murray. So you could probably call the Cardinals now and say, look, if y'all eat some of that contract, we'll trade for him. And that's what I think the Jets should do. So let's go ahead, that would be my pick. Now let's go ahead and watch the video, react as only I can do.
I'll say this, Stephen A. With that being said, you're lauding this defense. Did they go out and get a veteran? Because Wilson's not going to be the answer.
Oh, man, I'm calling Tom Brady. Tom, seriously, I am going to put a call into Tom Brady. All these other guys, I understand.
I think you call him. There's no problem with calling Tom Brady. But it's one of those deals where another problem with this is that it happened on Monday Night Football in week 1. If Tom Brady is 5 games away from being in playing shape, that's not going to work. You need someone who can come in relatively soon and go. You have to have somebody that can come in here within the next couple of weeks ready to roll. If it takes Brady 5-6 weeks to get into game shape, then get there, learn the offense, go through that whole process. We see what it looks like for Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow, those kind of guys, when they miss training camp or they miss preseason and they look rusty. They don't look good. For Brady or these other cats that they're talking about just coming out of nowhere and just saying, yeah, let's just pick him off of a private island, go grab him from the middle of the U.S. Open and expect him to be able to play in the NFL for the New York Jets. I'm pretty sure the Jets play the Chiefs in like 2 weeks. Could you imagine, like, Tom Brady, who I would assume has done virtually nothing in his retirement, all of a sudden he has to come to the Jets, learn the Jets team, learn their offense, do all that stuff, and then play against Patrick Mahomes? It's not going to work. So, but I would give him a call, because on the off chance he's like, no, I could play next week. Sure, no doubt.
Understand that Wentz is available and Nick Foles is available, and maybe you can get Matt Ryan to come up out of the booth for CBS. I'm calling Tom.
Matt Ryan is in the booth at CBS. Last time we saw him, he had concrete in his shoes. Can you imagine? I mean, some of these names, mind-blowing.
Tom, seriously, we got $25 million on the table for us, or you. Can you come give us something?
Okay, I don't blame you for that, but I'm going to shock you with this.
What?
I probably would call Carson Wentz. Let me explain.
Look, if you're the Jets, you have to handle the situation internally. You have to say, do we still want to chase the Super Bowl? Do we still think right now, this team, this roster, 0-1 or 1-0, do we think that we have enough momentum, enough talent to make a push and go? Because if so, you got to do some wild stuff. You've got to reach out to quarterbacks in situations where teams might want to offload them. Matt Stafford, I don't know the situation in Los Angeles, but what it looks like to me is Los Angeles is closing their own window, and they're getting ready for McVay to leave, Donald to leave, Stafford to leave, whatever. So if give them a call, say, hey, look, what are y'all doing? Are y'all rebuilding? Are y'all retooling? You're obviously not chasing a Super Bowl. So how about we take some of Stafford's contract off of you? We'll give you some picks, blah, 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 blah. Stafford could be available. You could even call a team like the Vikings, who we don't know what they think about Kirk Cousins. Okay, I don't think they would offload him. You know, they are a team that is trying to win. But you start calling all of these teams with current playing quarterbacks. All right, Stafford would be good. Kyler Murray would be good. Off the top of my head, I'm trying to think of some more people that are actually in the NFL and aren't commentators for CBS. Or you say, if you're the Jets, you say, you know what? Rodgers gave us a chance, but without him, we don't really think we've got a chance. So, you know, let's just get through the season. If that's the case, you can go look at a Heineke. You could go look at some of these other guys they've named just to get to the season, just to get to the end of the season, just bridge the gap, win 8 games, see you next year. Or you say, let's find out what we have in Zach Wilson. We have him. We drafted him. Let's find out. And if that's the case, you play Zach Wilson and you throw the results out the window. Could be bad, could be good, who knows. But at the end of the day, you'll know what you have in Zach Wilson. And maybe you're so bad, you're in the running for Caleb Williams.
Explain why. He was in Philly. I know how that ended.
Yeah.
All right? I know Nick Foles is the one that won that Super Bowl for them, even though he was an MVP, top 2 MVP candidate before he went down.
Yes.
You know, with those
he was going to win it.
In the season. He was going to win the MVP.
He was.
Year, right? But I had this looked up because it's very important that I point this out, okay? 2 seasons since leaving Philadelphia, he's only 11-13 as a starter. Colts, then Washington. But he did complete 62% of his passes. He did throw 38 touchdowns with 16 picks. And obviously, when you consider, he turns 31 in December. When you consider the
age doesn't matter at all
with Brown, with Becton on the offensive line, my concern is having any quarterback that's a stationary target. And so
that some X's and O's right there from Stephen A. Yes, the offensive line is ass. The offensive line is terrible. So you do want if you're saying my offensive line is garbage, the quarterback's probably going to be getting hit a lot. He needs to be mobile. He needs to be able to escape. I don't know if you ever really go into a situation where you're like, hey, let's get a guy that we know is going to be under incredible duress the entire time. You know, that I don't know if that's the best way to look at it, but that's what Stephen A is saying. It is probably true. Like, Wentz is more mobile than a Foles. And has played more recently. He is more mobile than a Matt Ryan, and he isn't commentating for CBS. He is more mobile and has actually played since 2020, unlike Phillip Rivers. So Wentz isn't an awful shout. He's good enough. He can kind of fill that bridge gap. He's not going to be expensive. And maybe he has a ceiling high enough where you could still be a playoff team.
So you need a quarterback that's not going to throw but so many interceptions, A, and B, that's somewhat mobile.
Right.
That's the only reason I bring up Wentz.
Wentz will turn the ball over.
Can we play out Shannon's thought
Sure.
experiment, though? So let's say Tom Brady said, okay, cool, unique opportunity.
Can't
The
turn
New
down Tom
York
Brady.
Jets. No, I'm just saying, he's got a son that lives in New York. Let's do it. How hard is that to step in?
It's very hard because he had no. Tom works best when it's his system.
Yep.
He's never played in this system before. Even when he got to Tampa, they ran a lot of what he had run.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. Like, if this was the preseason, sure, you give them a month to figure it out. They don't have that. They don't have. You've got to wonder. It's going to be hard enough for anybody. Wentz. It's going to be hard enough for Wentz to come in and learn a new system, learn a new team, all that stuff, and be ready to go with no training camp, no preseason, no nothing. That's hard enough. But then when you have to factor in that they probably aren't in playing shape. I mean, Tom Brady. What kind of shape do we think he's in? He's certainly not in he's a high-level athlete. I'm sure he's in good shape, but he's not in the shape to be a NFL starting quarterback on a team trying to chase a Super Bowl. That's going to take time for anybody. Wentz has played recently. Wentz is not retired, so Wentz may be trying to land a job. He may be working out with teams. Who knows what he's been doing? So Wentz, he might already be in game shape, or at least close enough, to where then you only have to worry about him getting up to speed playbook-wise.
Run before, and when the bye came, they basically said, okay, Tom, everything that you want to run has been implemented. And you see they took off that first year he got there because he was all his stuff. Quick, a lot of smoke screens, a lot of jailbreak screens, getting the ball out of his hands quickly. I don't know in the West Coast system, it's getting the ball out of your system, but not like Tom Brady is accustomed to getting the ball out of his hands.
Here's where I disagree with you profoundly about Tom Brady, although I wouldn't blame you for making that call as a seven-time champion. Of course, you make that call. But here's where I disagree. Number one, what you just highlighted, all the intricacies of that. New system, new players, unfamiliar. It's not like you would be going to Josh McDaniels, who once coached you.
Correct.
It's not like you would be going to Bill O'Brien, who once coached
Correct.
you. You're going to an entirely new situation. And by the way, Nathaniel Hackett is there. You're going from them to Nathaniel Hackett. That ain't working. It's cancel that, okay? So we get.
If you do the Brady thing, I would think the Jets would do everything they could to make him comfortable. If that's wooing Bruce Arians into the booth, I don't know, just bringing in people that Brady's comfortable with that could help implement that system. Because if you are that desperate to make that move, you're going to smooth the process over as much as possible.
Get that out.
You're not going to get Brady and say, hey, Tom, you have to do what Nathaniel Hackett says.
Away. Number two, the stationary target that I pointed out. Number three, you haven't been working out and getting yourself conditioned for an NFL season because you retired officially and you were looking to go into the booth after taking a year off, all of this other stuff. That's number three. And number four, the level of competition in the AFC. You were in Tampa last year in the
that part's whatever. That part doesn't matter.
NFC. Now you would be against Buffalo, against Miami, against Cincinnati, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Kansas City, Jacksonville, Los Angeles Chargers. I'm sorry.
Pittsburgh just got absolutely rolled by the Niners. The Chargers just got embarrassed. Just naming AFC teams. But the level of competition and all that, it doesn't matter at all.
If I'm Tom Brady, hell no, I'm not putting myself in that position. I'm messing with my brain.
Okay, you make him tell you no.
Okay.
Yeah. Just have the call. Just make the call.
I'm just telling you, Tom Brady, I wouldn't think about it. I wouldn't think about it if I'm Tom Brady. That's all I'm saying. But I don't blame the Jets for calling.
Yeah. But I mean, there's not a whole lot of options out there because if you're a really good quarterback, you probably would be on a roster by now. You wouldn't be waiting for someone to call you, a Wentz, or Nick Foles, or a Matt Ryan, or one of those guys. But you're looking at Matt.
That's a good point. I mean, that's a point that seemingly everyone's forgotten. The guys that are available are ass for the most part. You've got to find an incredibly unique situation, like a Kyler Murray, like a Matt Stafford, like a Tom Brady, or maybe even Carson Wentz, where it's close enough to they're available, but they might be able to do the job. Going and getting Marcus Mariota, going and getting Huntley, going and getting those guys, David Blau, Mitchell Trubisky, you might as well just let Zach Wilson play. You might as well just see what you got in him. If you would rather acquire David Blau then let Zach Wilson give it a go, that's shocking. I'm not saying Zach Wilson's good, but if you told me I could start the season with Zach Wilson or a combination of Marcus Mariota and Huntley, I'll take Zach Wilson. Sure. Like, at least I drafted him. He's young. Let's see what we got. Marcus Mariota is doing you nothing. Marcus Mariota is not getting you to the playoffs. Marcus Mariota is not getting you to a Super Bowl. So you have to decide what you want to do with the quarterback that you're going to roll out there.
Ryan is stationary. Nick Foles is stationary. So walking to him might be their best option. But the thing is, Stephen A. Man, it's just like when the pressure starts coming around him, he drops his head and the ball just and he turns.
Talk about Wentz.
I'm talking about Carson Wentz.
Right.
Yeah, Wentz turns the ball over a lot.
Starts dropping out of his hands.
I feel you. Well, let me ask this question: is Wentz a better option than Zach Wilson? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question.
Would you rather get run over by a Mack truck or a dump truck?
Well, I will say this.
The end result is just the same.
That's based on the Zach Wilson we saw last year. What about the one we saw last night? The one we saw last night looked like a better version in the room with Aaron Rodgers, obviously.
How many times that we've seen a guy come off the bench when the team hadn't prepared for him? Everything they had done.
Wilson was also, they kept the game at the line of scrimmage. They kept the game very small. The throws were very easy. Even the easy throws he had to make, he couldn't make them. The touchdown pass was an awful throw that Garrett Wilson saved him from. Wilson, like I said, they drafted him for a reason. He's been in the building. He has seemingly learned from Aaron Rodgers. There are some positives there that you don't have with the Mariotas and the Foles and the Flaccos and people like that. So I just don't get and this is something that I hear all the time. This backup quarterback mystique. Like Jameis Winston is going to come save the Jets. That Marcus Mariota is going to come save the Jets, or any of these players who aren't even starters. Gardner Minshew, Ryan Fitzpatrick when he played. I had to hear this every year with him. I had to have a huge conversation the year the Commanders were like the third favorites to win the NFC. When has Ryan Fitzpatrick won anything? When has Marcus Mariota won anything? When have these guys done anything? And all of a sudden now you want them to come into one of the hardest situations possible. Quarterback of the New York Jets after Aaron Rodgers blew his Achilles out in midfield. You think these guys who are scrubs, who can't win their own jobs, who haven't ever been good, are going to come into this situation and magically they're just going to be good? That doesn't happen. That does not happen. So you would be better off, I think, with a Tom Brady, with a Kyler Murray, than going after some backup, going after some third-string guy, some practice. This isn't a Disney movie. You can't go get a garbage man who you saw throw some trash, and you were like, man, that's a great arm on that garbage man. And then you sign him, and all of a sudden he leads the Jets to the Super Bowl. This is real life. These bad quarterbacks are bad for a reason.
Done was for Aaron Rodgers.
That's right.
Now, they do have tape on Zach Wilson, but that defense was not expecting to see Zach Wilson not one snap.
That's right.
Not even a victory formation.
Okay. Zach Wilson had nothing to do with why they won the game.
Now, moving forward, I know he's going to be the starting quarterback. We'll see if he's able to replicate the second half of this game and bring it forward for the rest of the season.
You got other veterans. You got Nick. You got Joe Flacco out there.
No. Man, stop.
I know that. I agree. I'm just giving you the names. I'm just giving you that. I agree with you.
Hey,
we don't disagree. I'm just saying. I want the world to hear what.
Again, Joe Flacco. The two names that were just tossed out there were Joe Flacco and Cam Newton. Somebody put in the comments below the last time Joe Flacco and Cam Newton played at a above average level. Cam Newton has been doing a podcast. They might as well call me. Cam Newton puts out more videos than I do somehow. Guys everywhere. Joe Flacco was the third string quarterback for the Jets. Was it last year or the year before? Might have been last year. Like a third string quarterback for the Jets. The Jets just walked him out the door. And you're going to call Smooth Joe, Cool Joe? You'd be better off calling Joe Montana.
What you got to say? I just wanted to. I'm just giving you. I damn sure ain't saying I want them.
Give us the list.
Joe Flacco.
Okay.
Nick Foles. Colt McCoy.
Okay.
Matt Ryan was in the broadcast booth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They need to leave him there.
Yeah. Are they going to call Joe Buck?
Leave him
I
there.
don't
Are they gonna
pick
call
any of
Troy
those
Aikman?
dudes over Carson Wentz.
Where's Carson? In Montana? Hunting?
North Dakota. I don't know where
Leave
the hell
him
he is.
there.
I don't know where the hell he is. So we got to roll with Zach Wilson.
You got to roll with it.
You got to roll with Zach.
But I mainly, you don't think Woody Johnson has Tom Brady's number? He got a personal number.
All right.
When you that influential, you a billionaire, you got Tom Brady's number.
What will be the upside for Tom Brady?
The upside for Brady, it's unique for Brady too. You get to be the quarterback of the New York Jets, who have 5 more primetime games. And if you don't think the NFL would get involved with that conversation with Tom Brady, you're a fool. The NFL would love to have Tom Brady as the quarterback of the New York Jets with 5 primetime games. Brady would be able to come in to a good roster, a really good roster. And it's almost like a win-win situation. The only way it would really be bad for Brady is if he was absolutely terrible, which is hard to imagine he would be. So for Brady, it's like, sweet, I can come in there, pad some stats, increase my records. Hell, maybe get to the playoffs. Hell, maybe win a playoff game. Everything he does positive would be a huge story. So for Brady, it's a unique situation too. And it's, I would say, mostly positive.
Play. Gives an opportunity to play.
No.
Yeah.
There would be no upside for Tom Brady, who's getting $37.5 million once he goes into the booth next
Yeah.
year. All right,
There would be a positive if he wins and plays good. It's just another notch in the legacy. I mean, what would be the downside for Brady? There really isn't a downside.
10 years, $37.5, $375 million. I think he's all right. I think he's okay. Knowing that that's coming down the pipe for the next decade, I think he's all right.
Name the person that you ever heard say, I got too much money. You've heard people say, I got too many cars. I got too many homes.
I don't think it's a money thing with Brady.
But I'll tell you who, the person that knows they got money to count on for the next decade and could use a year off because they've spent the last 20, 25 years working. That's who. I can tell you that much.
I mean, Brady, nothing to do with money. But I could see Brady taking the call and thinking about this. I would call Tom Brady. That's the only fantasy quarterback that they've named that, like, the fictitious situation out of all these people they've named. That's the only one I would call. If Brady said no, I'm calling the Cardinals about Kyler Murray. If they say no, I'm calling the Rams about Matt Stafford. If they say no, I guess I'm rolling with Zach Wilson. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Who would you go with? Who would you pick to replace Aaron Rodgers? What would be your strategy if you were running the New York Jets? Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. I will see you. Don't look at me like that, Stephen A. Smith. I will see you in the next video.